Welcome back to Sky Racing Active, and here at the Meadows ahead of the third and final heat of the Fantabale Stayers over the 700 metres. Now, this is probably the most intriguing heat that we see for this series, and a lot of it surrounds Unreal Speed, who, of course, last week was really threatening in the Group 1 Zoom Top, and that was his first start since last May. So the question normally is, with stayers generally, let alone one like him that's got a significant break between runs, how well is he going to handle the second run over 700 metres? I spoke to Robbie Britton on radio yesterday to find out exactly what he thinks.
Obviously, you've trained some of the great stayers, especially in the last decade or so. So you'll be able to answer this question probably better than anyone. We hear often, or we also see it, that we think that sometimes second up there's a little bit of a flat spot with a greyhound in a race. Is that something that's different individually for greyhounds, or do you think there's some merit behind that? Give us your thoughts around that second up run.
I think there's two types of stayers. There's one that it knocks them around a little bit because they barely get it, and they're the dogs that need time to recover. And what I just mentioned before, this particular breed, which is basically the Ivers breed, they're bred over probably 3 decades to stay, and that's what they do. And recovery is not an issue with these sort of dogs as long as you've got them reasonably fit. They can run the 700, or the majority of them can anyway. So I'm not particularly worried about it, but you are right. There are a lot of dogs that they have a gut buster simply because they run like sprinters, but they actually stay their first run, but it takes them a while to recover from that.
So there's the comments of Robbie Britton on Unreal Speed, who backs up the 700 the second time this week, Nath, after he was very good last week in the Zoom Top from box 6, which we're going to take a look at.
Yeah, he was awesome last week, considering, you know, the time off through injury that the greyhound had. He had, box 6 on this occasion. He gets to the middle part of the track here. He cops a little bit of pressure and loses his spot going through the corner the first time. Then he makes a really good mid-race move. He gets in behind the leaders, and then once again, he does find a little bit of trouble coming out of the corner, getting on the back of Ethanol Water there, balances back up, and he grinds out a genuine 700. Robbie's comments were that he is a genuine 700-metre dog. You know, the way he works him and the way he's bred allows him just to grind out 700. He's not one of these greyhounds that he feels that he's going to take effect off that gut buster first up over 700. He doesn't go down by far in the concluding stages there, considering he copped them couple of checks through the early and middle part of the race. I thought the run was full of merit. He has to back up, and he's most probably a little bit of a disadvantage that he's got a 7-dog field here, where the other 2 heats we've seen have been 6-dog fields, and they've kind of spread out a bit. There's a little bit of bit more speed in this event, and as Rob said on radio as well, he's a big, leggy, gangly type.
Feel like a giraffe, his words were.
Yeah, exactly. He's, 30-odd 6 kilos, and yeah, he's still learning how to race. Like he's had 12 starts through his career. He's won 8 of them. He's been minor placed a couple of times. He's got plenty of upside. It's just how he handles himself now in a full field. A little bit of pace around him. He's not a bona fide jump and run stayer. He's going to settle mid-pack. He's going to have to pick the right path, and then he's going to have to back up second week over 700. Robbie said it's no concern. I don't think it's a massive concern. I think the 7-dog field is a slight question mark, just being an inexperienced chaser.
So from a market point of view, we've seen heaps of big separations between the top chances and the rest of the field. In this race, it's just the 2. It's Unreal Speed and also the stayer from New South Wales, who I've got a big opinion of, is Late Night News. We're going to take a look at him at go around in the most recent Group 1 staying race up in Brisbane, which was won by Ethanol Water. He finished as a placing as well with
Black Silencer.
Yeah. And the way that he races Late Night News. Now, he's got box 4 here. He gets back in the field, but he really hits the line hard.
Yeah, what drew me to this replay, Jason, the run was he's happy to go underneath dogs, and then he's happy to go around dogs. Now, typically with him, you know, people will think he'll get too far, shuffle back on the fence and things like that. But his record off inside draws is first class. He's had 2 goes from box 1 for a win and a minor, and 3 goes from box 2 for 3 wins. So inside draws certainly aren't a concern. He's chasing out after Ethanol Water and has Black Silencer in front of him as well here, and he closes off really strong late. I was really taken by the training regime of this greyhound. We've seen last week, you know, dogs from Queensland come back and race, and Ethanol Water the like underperform. They took a bit of a different route where they didn't come down didn't nominate for the Zoom Top. They've decided to give an exhibition trial. They've let the greyhound acclimatise back to its surroundings in New South Wales, and then they've earmarked this Fanta Bale Stayers as a race that they're really keen on targeting. So I think the way they've placed this dog has been first class, and I expect him to race at his true potential tonight.
He went around 42.9 in that exhibition trial here at the Meadows. For a greyhound that races like him, who gets back and chases other dogs and runs on, do you take much from that, or it's just a look at the track and that's it?
No, because I don't know the greyhound, and he might be a dog that might not trail fast. A lot of stayers don't. They somewhat go around in third gear. I think the idea of the trial was just to give it a full look around the surroundings and get it used to this place ready for tonight's and hopefully next week's crack at the Fanta Bale Superstars. But I thought the training placement was first class, and come up with box one, I don't think it's a disadvantage. A greyhound, he can go inside runners, he can go around runners. I think the key point to him is just not getting too far back in the early stages.
The third line of betting is with Passmark, who we know, like we spoke about Groovebird in the previous, just an honest greyhound where you know what you're going to get. So as much as he doesn't have the ability of an Unreal Speed or a Late Night News, he's going to put himself in the race, no doubt about it.
And grind out a genuine 700 metres, very typical of, the Jeff Britton runners that we've seen tonight, shake and bake in the first heat. On speed, grinding away, run 700. Groovebird on speed, grinding away, run 700. Passmark exactly the same. Should be able to get across Late Night News early, get hard up against the fence, position himself, just maybe behind a few that have a little bit more speed that might not be bona fide 700 metre runners, and he'll run an honest race, doesn't know how not to.
We spoke about Unreal Speed and how good he was last week in the Zoom Top. He looked threatening. We heard it from Robbie Britton saying he's got no issues with him backing up second start in a row over 700 metres. But what does the race look like for him? We know it's a smaller field, so that's going to be an advantage. But do you expect him to settle up in a positive position?
No, I don't think he's going to be too positive, to be honest. You got poor Octavia in box 3, Jace, who's had 1.595 metre run last week off an inside draw at Sandown. Before that, done all its racing over 500. Can run, 5 teens over the 500 trip at both metropolitan tracks. I expect it to go forward and most probably lead the race. You've got a dog like Facetious, who's got early speed, runs around the 5 even mark over this staying trips, puts itself into the race. Then you'll get Passmark, who will most probably be ahead of the likes of Unreal Speed as well. So I've macked Unreal Speed to most probably lob 4th or 5th in running. And then from there, it's a matter of he can pick the right path, get some clear air and unleash the powerful finish that we know he possesses in that mid-race speed that he has in his artillery to really get up and get close to the leaders. But I think he's going to be midfield to back half in the early stages.
He opened at $2.15. He come in slightly after that, and now he's $1.80. Is that getting too skinny, or is still in the bracket of being about right?
I couldn't start him with a 1 in front of his name. I've got him low 2s, and that's just because I've got Late Night News solid in the market as well. I have to respect Late Night News. I have to respect what it's done in Queensland and its form around Wentworth Park. So when I price my market up at a tight percentage, I have to have him in black figure odds, but I can understand why he's red figures.
And Late Night News, we see him is $2.60. He's on the drift. He opened $1.85. Is that getting into where you thought he'd be?
260 is exactly where I've marked him, yeah. 220 Unreal Speed and 260 Late Night News is the way I've priced them up.
And speaking of Late Night News, Corey Smith is with his trainer, Caroline Hughes.
The boys are loving talking about Late Night News, and he's loving heading to the boxes. He knows his way after his exhibition trial last week.
One go, and he knows where he's headed.
We love it. What did you make of that exhibition trial? Obviously, travelling down here was a new beast for him. Happy with how everything's gone?
I was, yeah. He was. I mean, it's great. It's a benefit if you can see the track. So I'm hoping that has benefited him for tonight. So yeah, see what happens.
Well, you decided to bypass the Zoom Top last week and come straight in here, give him a trial. How important was that he did get that look at the track?
Very important, because we went to Albion Park and he sort of flew blind in the heats of that, which you could sort of tell as he went round. He had the 1 box that time too, so hopefully he comes out a little bit better tonight, but I'm keeping everything crossed.
Oh, well, good luck. Hopefully he can strut his stuff and show us how good he is. And speaking of how good they are, Pete Riley, Unreal Speed, mate, he was super impressive last week.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, come back from 8 months off to put in a run like that, we were very, very pleased with the run. He's had a good week. He's feeling good, so a clean run, anything could happen.
So talk us through the last week. Obviously, 8 months off, straight into a 700 metres. He's probably going to take benefit out of those sort of runs. What does his week look like?
Oh, just normal. We work our dogs in the morning and then they get it pretty easy for the rest of the day. He's very calm in the kennel, so there's no problem there. Even when we're working other dogs, he'll just lie in his kennel, wait for us, and then you call his name, he jumps up, out we go, and he works really, really well. So he's the perfect kennel dog.
We love it, and he's a beautiful dog to look at as well. So this is a ripping race. This is arguably the best of the heats of this race, and I'm looking forward to seeing this get underway. It's going to be roaring into that first bend, and some of these dogs running over the top of them late. It's going to be impressive to watch, boys.
Thanks, Smithy. It's going to be a great contest, that's for sure. Hopefully, Sky Racing 1 viewers are with us now. And this is a great tussle for favouritism, and the market support late has been for Unreal Speed ahead of Late Night News. Nathan Rooney, which way are you leaning?
I went 4, 1, 2 and 7. I went with Unreal Speed. I was really taken by his run last week, and the comments of Robbie Britton saying he hasn't flattened out off that run. He's a bona fide star and he'll improve dramatic benefit from it. So 4 Unreal Speed for me, ahead of 1 Late Night News, who was okay in his exhibition trial, but I think the look at the track will certainly hold him in strong benefit. His Queensland campaign, his Sydney form's quite good. In for third, I put number 2, Pass Mark. It'll be on speed and a bona fide stayer for Jeff Britton. For fourth, number 7, Full of Regrets, who was quite an eye-catching 5.95 Sandown winner last start. 4, 1, 2 and 7.
Getting loaded for the third heat of the Fantabale Stayers, arguably the best one of the trio. Here's James.
Starting signal. And they're moving in race 5 for the third heat, the final heat of the Fantabale Stayers. Green light turned on, favourites in 4, set. And they're racing an Unreal Speed out midfield, winning the jump. Facetious from the outside is going to come across and find the lead, settling down to Pass Mark, Poor Octavia. And then Late Night News, who hugs the rail, gets ahead of Unreal Speed, who then pulled out 4 wide and just cuts loose on them coming through that first corner. So it's Facetious leading, but Unreal Speed moves up within a length and he's powering to the lead now, Unreal Speed. Up to third, Pass Mark, then Late Night News, Poor Octavia. A break to Full of Regrets and Ryko Dusty at the end as Unreal Speed. Fitness could be his challenge. He's 2.5 to Pass Mark. Late Night News about to run on and run on strongly. Turning for home, it's Unreal Speed in front. The X Factor star's going to win it. Unreal Speed by a length and a quarter. Late Night News. The big guns go 1-2. Third, Pass Mark ahead of Full of Regrets, and then Facetious. A long break to Poor Octavia, who did not stay, and nor did Ryko Dusty, and the time 42.53.
42.53 the time, Unreal Speed, and he might have to be renamed Unreal Mid-Race Speed. That was a serious turn of foot, Pete.
Absolutely. He did it when he broke his maiden year. He ran 29.8. You know, that's the only 500 he's ever had. His mid-race speed is amazing. I still think he'll take benefit from that run. So you get a clean run, you got a dog with some talent, you need a bit of luck still.
He's a dog that just has so much intrigue. You just touched on the fact that he only had 1 500 and the camp stepped him straight up, and then he comes into the last couple of weeks off 8 months off. He's a dog that just is an impressive animal.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the times he was running at 14 and 15 months old will make you shake your head. And it actually surprised me when the boss stepped him up from the 500 to the 600 straight away. But he said he was always going to be a stayer. You know, from when we first started breaking him in, that's what he looked like, and that's what he is.
Well, you look at the breeding, and he was probably bred to be a stayer as we come off the track a bit. I don't want you getting run over by the tractor. I'll get in trouble. But when you put together a breeding match like this, and then it comes to fruition that he comes a genuine stayer, it's a fair feather in the cap.
Yeah, there's a couple of others in the litter that they can run the distance as well, but he's always had, you know, like 10 lengths on them. So, if we can keep him fit, happy, healthy, he could be something special.
Oh, well, good luck in the final next week, and well done tonight. That was a very, very impressive performance, and the place getters as well were super. So I can't wait for this final next week.
Thanks, Smithy. Great vision of Pete there, witnessing the burst of Unreal Speed mid-race especially, and particularly late. We was able to hold off Late Night News, and Nath, that's what we thought we'd see. And it was very good to watch because the contest loomed very large, turning for home as Late Night News got into the clear.
Yeah, Late Night News actually lobbed ahead of Unreal Speed through the early stages, but kind of got on the back of Pass Mark approaching the corner the first time. Poor Octavia got in its way as well. So just kind of lost the position, and the mid-race pace of Unreal Speed was then able to take over, get past Facetious, the early leader, put a bit of a gap, and the time Late Night News could then peel to the outside and get a clear crack at Unreal Speed. When they're running 42.4 in front, Jace, you can't be spotting a greyhound the quality of Unreal Speed 4 or 5 lengths and being able to pick it up. It got pretty close in the end, 1.5 lengths. I think the run of Late Night News was full of merit. Box draw again's going to play a massive part. We've talked about the maiden final, box draw playing a massive part, but I think it's going to be, once again here, you know, Unreal Speed and Late Night News just need them clear unimpeded runs. And when you got dogs like Groove Bird that are going to set a fast tempo, Ethanol Water, we did touch on the depth of the 3 heats might not have been there, but if the final composes what we expected to go through, which has happened, I think the 8 runners that'll qualify for next week's final will nearly be the best 8 selected out of the 3 heats that we've seen tonight. And I think we're in for a really good final where box draw is going to play a massive part.
Exactly what you want in a heat and final situation. We spoke about the not so much disappointment, I guess the thinness of the depth of the nominations going into this Fantabale Stayers series, but we've got one hell of a final ahead of us next Saturday night on Australian Cup night. Past Mark third, Nath. No surprise there, and the time that he set's probably going to be good enough as one of the fastest thirds to go in.
Yeah, I think so, and just an honest, genuine stayer. Jeff Britton's going to most probably qualify 3 runners through to this Fantabale Stayers, and he'll be trying to beat his brother Robbie, no doubt, but Jeff's 3 runners are just bona fide stars that just get on speed and grind away. So good to see Past Mark make another group final, and rightly so, and well deserved.
And more credit to the GOAT in Robbie Britton when it comes to stayers as well. I mean, we knew Unreal Speed was going to turn up last week ready to rock. And we heard about the couple of trials that he did have, whether it be Geelong, whether it be here at the Meadows over 500 metres. But as we heard from him earlier on here in the broadcast and on RSN yesterday, I mean, just the breed just continued to produce just sensational stayers. Yeah, it does. And it's been a line that Robbie's been able to train for decades, so to speak, isn't it, Jason? And that's allowed him to know what they need. You know, a normal greyhound or a normal training regime, you wouldn't have a greyhound that's had 8 months off, won 460 at Geelong to clear it for racing into 500, straight into a 700 in a Group 1 event like the Zoom Top last week, and then run up to the level he did, let alone back up 7 days later and do it again. So he's been full of class, has Unreal Speed, and in a masterful care of Robbie Britton, who is a master with all stayers. 100% he is, and here's the reaction of Peter Riley once again, very happy. And look, straight after the Zoom Top last week, I was waiting to speak to Brooke Ennis after the win of Land Franco, and Peter Riley said to me here, he said, watch out next week, Unreal Speed. And that certainly comes to fruition, taking out a heat of the Fantabale Stays in super fashion. And before we wrap up these 3 heats, Nath, the box draw for it will be on Monday afternoon. And just coming back to the opening heat, which was won by Ethanol Water, we're comparing her performance tonight to what we saw from her last week, where the label that you had to put on it was disappointing. So last week, her last 100 metres was ran in 6:66. Tonight, her last 100 metres was run in 6:20. So we're talking about half a second there, which is what, 7 to 8 lengths. So yeah, that is a significant difference from one week to the next in such a small space of the race, being 100 metres. Yeah, and she did lose that bit of momentum at the 600 boxes where she got on the back of the Red Dog going through the corner as well. So she most probably wasn't full of momentum to run through her last 100. She had to pick herself up and go, but I think that's just credit to Team Daly, as we touched on. You know, last week's run was below par. They've backed her up 7 days later. They were happy. She ticked all the boxes, and then she performed here tonight. And just before we close off, as we're seeing the closing stages of that final heat of the Fantabale Stayers, Late Night News, pretty good in his first race here at the Meadows. Very, very good. He just lost his position being third defence, going past the post the first time. No fault of his own. Past Mark Poor Octavia took his running, and then he was kind of shuffled back, and then that let Unreal Speed use his mid-race brilliance to loop the field and put a gap on him. But once he got out into open air, he really closed off late. Box draw's a massive key there. I think whatever one of those 2 runners can get the right sort of map and the right sort of draw in the final and have a clean, unimpeded